I'm coming in very hot. Is this too much boobage for YouTube? Can I say boobage on here? I don't know. Hello my angels, my name is Rhea Wood and welcome to my channel. Today's video, well, it could have been two things, or one of two things. If you guys follow me on TikTok, if you follow me on Instagram, then you will know that I have been talking about going to California or visiting California for quite some time. And I finally did it. The trip came and went. It has been officially a week that I've been back in New York. And I will say that I did miss New York. I didn't think that I would, but at some point during my trip, I did feel a little homesick. So that was very surprising to me. In the weeks leading up to my trip, I kept posting about it on Instagram, on TikTok, talking about how excited I was, asking people for recommendations. Where should I go? What should I see? So my original goal for this video was for it to be a travel vlog. I wanted to film everything that I did out in California and just have you guys experience it with me. For those of you who don't know, I was born and raised in New York. I have been in New York for 25, going on 26 years in September, my birthday. It's not really a flex. I don't love New York, or I do love New York, but I'm feeling a little bored here. I'm feeling a little stagnant. I definitely want to move and expand my experiences. So I have been considering moving to California next year. So a big point of this trip was for me to get out of, my comfort zone and check out California and see if I really would want to live there. Although my goal was to experience Cali, record it, talk to you guys about it, have you guys experience it with me, that did not happen. I got sick. I got food poisoning day 3 of my trip, to the point where I really thought I was going to have to go to the hospital. I know that sounds very dramatic, but I have a lot of health issues. I have a lot of stomach problems, and the way that I was feeling, I genuinely thought I was going to have to go to the hospital because it wouldn't have been the first time. I was throwing up profusely. I was throwing up so much that my stomach kept contracting even though there was nothing else left for me to vomit. So again, I'm sorry. I know that's very gross, but that was genuinely my experience. And then for the rest of my trip, I kept Pepto-Bismol by my nightstand, and every morning, every night, I was taking like 1 to 2 doses, which is not good. Like, you should not be downing Pepto to that extent, but it was the only thing that kind of settles my stomach. So with that being said, when I was out and about, when I was exploring, I just didn't feel good enough to fully film myself, to talk on camera, to because part of recording yourself, part of vlogging and just putting yourself out there on the internet, it is performing to some extent. I'm fully sitting here talking to myself, but this is entertainment for someone else, you know what I mean? So I just did not have the energy to do that while I was out in California because I felt so sick. So all that put together, I did not get to film as much as I would like to have filmed when I was in California, but I did get some really cool shots that I will insert throughout this video and probably at the beginning of this video, just so you guys can see what I saw, because California truly is beautiful. If you have never been, if you don't live there, definitely go visit. Beautiful, beautiful state. I stayed in downtown LA for the first half of my trip, and then I was in North Hollywood for the second half of my trip. So both beautiful areas, I think. So sitting down today, I was like, I could sit here and I could harp on all of the horrible things that happened to me in California, because like I said, I did get violently ill, and then on top of that, I nearly got stranded. A lot happened, but I don't want to harp on the negatives because it genuinely was such a good experience and it was such a good trip. There were a lot of things that went right, and one thing in particular that I think was the most amazing thing to come out of this trip was how California has changed my spiritual path. I kept receiving so many signs that I couldn't ignore. So many things happened where, some things I can't even go into on camera, but there were major things that kept happening that I was just like, oh my God, I am meant to be here. The universe is literally telling me I am meant to be here, and there's something that I need to dive deeper into, and that there is something that I need to learn. And being here is the start of that. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it. I will say, before I fully dive into how my trip has changed me spiritually, I do need to give a little bit of background info for you guys. I'm not going to go too deep into it because a lot of this preface could be an entire video all on its own. So I don't want this video to be too long. But for context, I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school. I have been baptized. I did my communion, but I was taken out of Catholic school before I got the chance to do my confirmation. Once I was taken out of Catholic school, I started attending a public school, and religion slowly but surely kind of made its way out of my life. When I was in Catholic school, it did have a large impact on me. The people there were homophobic, which I didn't know because I was so young at the time, but being an adult, looking back, I'm like, okay, yeah, there was definitely a lot of homophobia at that school. And also, this may sound weird to some people, but I am on the older side of Gen Z. I was born 99, so you would think this wouldn't happen while I was in school, but it was something that was still occurring. But I did see nuns spanking kids, like bare butt. If the kid was in trouble, they'd be on the nun's lap and the nun would spank them. We're talking early 2000s that I was in that school, and that was something that was still happening. Between that and between other things that happened to me in my childhood, I definitely have a lot of religious trauma, and I have a lot of Catholic guilt. There have been things that have happened to me by people who are super religious, even as a teenager, even as an adult, even up until last year. You know, I've still experienced religious trauma. All that to say, I am a bit sensitive when it comes to talking about Christianity, when it comes to talking about Catholicism, Jesus. It can be a little triggering to me. And I have been practicing witchcraft for almost 10 years at this point. And even though I've had all this experience as a pagan, as a practicing witch, I still have moments in time where my religious trauma takes me away from my path, right? Like, I'm also bipolar as well, so especially during manic episodes or even depressive episodes, sometimes my Catholic guilt is so strong that I spiral, and I'm just like, oh my God, all of the things that I'm doing, what if I really am going to hell? You know, like, what if I am incredibly sinful? I need to be forgiven. I need to go to church. I need to confess. I need to do all the things, right? I still have those thoughts. Those are things that I still struggle with and deal with a lot. And for a long time, I didn't know how to heal from that. I didn't know what that meant, because even though I work with deities such as Hecate, Aphrodite, I still do feel drawn to Christianity in certain ways. And that I've never really been able to explain. Even the Bible, which I know some people may hear that and they may think, what? But I don't agree with everything that's in the Bible. But there are certain verses in the Bible, there are certain sections where I do think there's a lot of meaning there, and I do think there is a lot of beauty there. So like I said, I have been drawn to Christianity in certain ways, even though, again, I've been a practicing witch, I've been a pagan for nearly a decade. And I never really quite understood that. Being in California, everywhere I went, I just saw Jesus. I went to Santee Alley, and if you don't know what that is, I honestly don't even know how to describe it. It's this area where there are a bunch of vendors, booths, they sell clothes, toys, jewelry, but there's also a bunch of Christian stores. I wouldn't necessarily call them like botanicas or even like metaphysical shops really, because for the most part they did just sell statues. I mean, could they? I wouldn't call them botanicas, but they had a lot of beautiful statues outside, crosses everywhere. And for some reason, I was so drawn to all of them. I just had to stop inside. I had to buy something, whether it was a bracelet, a necklace. I got lily of the valley oil. And again, I couldn't explain to you this magnetism that I felt toward these stores, but I was just so drawn to it. And you know, that necessarily isn't even a sign of anything, right? You know, that's not a sign that I need to convert or that I need to do X, Y, and Z. Like, that was just me being attracted to all these things, and that's fine and that's okay. But there were other things that I saw, that I was experiencing, and again, this happened throughout the duration of my trip where I was just like, okay, The universe is trying to tell me something. When I was walking by all these shops in Santee Alley, I was just feeling so at peace and so safe. And at some point, my friend and I were walking down the block together. They stopped in their tracks. I asked them, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" They said, "That is the woman I have been searching for the past couple of years. That's the woman that gave me a reading, and I have not been able to find her since. She's right here." My friend lives in California. They were acting as my tour guide. They frequent Santee Alley, but they have not been able to find this woman in so long. And the woman in question, she is a reader. She practices Santeria, and she has her own little booth set up. So she has sage, candles, statues, rosaries, jewelry, masks, you know, all of the things, right? And it was a very beautiful little booth set up. I loved it. So my friend automatically is like, "I'm sorry, but I need to get a reading. I'm sorry, like this may take a while, but I just need to get a reading from her." So of course I'm like, "Go ahead, like do what you need to do. I'll wait, I'll look around, you take your time." And I have to say, I have not witnessed Santeria or brujeria like firsthand. I'm Puerto Rican, like 100%, both of my parents are Puerto Rican. No one in my family is interested in witchcraft or anything spiritual of the sort. Some of us go to church, but that's really the extent of that. My mom tried doing tarot when she was a teenager, but that's really it. I am pretty much like the first person in my family to fully dive into divination, magic, things like that. So I have never witnessed Santeria or brujeria aside from the things I have been seeing online. I have been told for so long, right? I have been told for so long that you cannot be Christian and do tarot. You cannot be Christian and do astrology. My friend gets their reading, and the whole time I'm just looking at the booth, I'm looking at the shop, and I'm in awe because my father, once I started to get into witchcraft, he was very upset with me. He did not like seeing my incense everywhere, pentacles everywhere, my tarot cards. Like, he rebuked all of it. He did not like it. And he's not even like super religious. That man, I can't remember the last time he went to church, but he was like, absolutely not in my house. You know what I mean? And seeing this shop, seeing statues of Jesus everywhere, seeing statues of Mary, seeing this woman do a tarot reading for my friend, and then doing candle work for her as well, it moved me. Because again, like, it's not like I've never heard of Santeria. I see videos online on TikTok. Like, I'm very much so on the online witch community. But seeing it firsthand, witnessing it in person, it changed me. And I wasn't even the one getting the reading, you know what I mean? But I was just like, oh my God, here's this woman who you can tell loves Jesus Christ, but she's also giving my friend a tarot reading, and she's also doing candle work for my friend as well, and doing banishing spells and, you know, protective magic and things like that. And this is something that I have been told my whole life is frowned upon, even as an adult. You know, I have been told by other Christians, if you love Jesus, if you want to accept Jesus into your life, into your heart, that is absolutely fine, but you need to give up astrology and you need to give up tarot. And again, I felt so much shame and so much guilt in that, and I just couldn't do it. I've never been able to do it. And anytime I've tried to, I've always just, it never felt right. And I always went back to it. But here I am again, seeing this woman give my friend a reading, surrounded by all these beautiful statues of Jesus. And I'm like, how can anyone ever tell me that this isn't doable, that this is wrong? What about this is wrong? So that really sparked something in me, and that really ignited something in me. Also, I know close practice, like I would not dare, okay? I understand. Close practices, I do not mess with. What I am saying is I felt so inspired, and I just felt this like validation of, I don't necessarily have to do what that woman is doing. I don't need to follow the same belief system she does necessarily, but if there's any way that I could incorporate Jesus or Christianity in any type of way into my craft, that I can do it and it is doable. I have just been told by so many people, no, you can't do it. That's not right. That doesn't make sense. And the thing is like, I've seen other people do it online. I've seen people online who identify as Christo-pagans, which I have always felt drawn to that title as well. But again, people in my personal life, family, would tell me, absolutely not. Like, that doesn't make sense. That's not really a thing. But again, I felt something just like so strongly in my heart, and I was like, there's no way this could be wrong. Witnessing that definitely changed me. And later on in my trip, I met up with another friend who asked me to give him a tarot reading. We went to the Marina del Rey. We were by the beach. We were under the moon, right? And I think it was a full moon that night. I'm giving him this tarot reading. I'm feeling really connected. For those of you who don't know, I do tarot, and one of the ways that I do utilize tarot is to communicate with spirits, to communicate with the dead. That was what was happening as I was doing this tarot reading. As this reading was happening, a few feet away from us on the beach as well were this entire group of people in prayer, talking about Jesus, praying to Jesus. I don't know exactly what they were doing, but I could overhear bits and pieces, and I knew they were Christian and I knew they were praying, and I can hear them talk about Jesus and talk about God. And I just thought that was beautiful as well, because some people would be like, oh, you know, like how ironic. Someone is over there talking about God, and then you have this witch over here who's doing this tarot reading and communicating with the dead. Like, those things may seem on like opposite sides of the spectrum to some people, but to me, I thought this is actually very beautiful, and if anything, this is very affirming to me, because I don't believe in heaven in a traditional sense, as, you know, someone or people being in the clouds like watching over you or things like that. But, you know, I do believe in the afterlife. Just having these group of people talk about God as I was communicating with the dead, as I don't want to say in a whole other realm, but, you know, I'm like creating a bridge between two different realms spiritually. Just thought, is that a coincidence? Is it more than a coincidence? I don't know, but again, I just found that it just stood out to me. And at this point, I'm not really thinking anything necessarily. I'm not thinking that anybody is calling out to me or that I'm being called to do anything. I am just noticing. I'm noticing all the ways that I feel being surrounded by Christians, by Jesus, especially given what I had just talked about, my Catholic guilt and religious trauma, where at other points in my life, being around those types of things and being in that environment may have caused me anxiety, may have triggered me. Maybe they would make me feel nervous, but here I am. I'm in California and I'm not feeling that way. If anything, I'm feeling safe and I'm feeling protected, and I'm feeling like there is some sort of divine energy that is in my space. So what really topped it all off was during one of my final nights in California, I was with my friend, and we went to this flea market type thing, right? Mainly filled with Latinos. So her and I, we're in our element, we're having fun. We're walking around, passing by all like the food vendors, things like that. And we see the sign that says, with God, all things are possible. It's an LED sign. It's very cute. Like, it looks like an Etsy type of sign, but it's on the wall. I'll put a picture of it here as well so you guys can see it. Take pictures of it. I'm gonna see if she can send me the picture she took of me in front of it as well. But as she was taking a picture of me in front of it, I get a text from a friend, and this is a friend that I have not spoken to in a year, I want to say. And I met back in 2018, 2019, and we were really good friends. We used to work together. We don't talk often. Again, we probably talk once a year. And typically when we do talk, it is about God, because her parents are pastors, and she has really wanted me to like fully dive into the faith with her. I did go to her church one time. It was very beautiful. Like, during my bouts of when I'm feeling anxious, when that Catholic guilt is very much so consuming me, I do tend to reach out to her for guidance, and, you know, she'll talk me through it, and she'll encourage me to go to church, to read the Bible and things like that. But I'm standing in front of the sign. My friend takes my picture. My friend texts me. Have not heard from her in a year. What are the chances that she texts me as I'm standing in front of this fucking sign? She sent me Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. What? I'm not gonna lie. I had no idea what that meant. I was trying to apply it into how I was feeling and like the sign that I was in front of, and I was just like, what do I do with this? What is happening? As this is happening, I'm texting my other friend. Sends me a screenshot because she was unfamiliar with what that verse or that quote meant in particular, and she just sent me like what Google said, which essentially says, this passage offers an invitation to find rest and peace in Jesus Christ. It encourages those who are weary and burdened to come to him, exchange their heavy load for his, and learn from his gentle and humble nature. This rest is not merely physical, but also spiritual, offering a release from the anxieties and burdens of life by connecting with God. And did that apply to how I was feeling? Being on my trip, thinking about, is this somewhere that I'm going to move to next year? Possibly. How am I going to make this work? What am I going to do? What do I need to do when I get back home? I was a little stressed out thinking about all the things that I needed to do, wondering if I was making the right decision or if me being sick was like a sign that I shouldn't move here. Like I was overthinking a lot on that trip, and I was feeling a little stressed and a little anxious. But then again, I'm right in front of the sign that says, with God, all things are possible. My friend sends me that message. I send her a picture of the sign that I'm in front of. I'm like, what are the chances that you text me that right as I'm in front of the sign? And she tells me, like, this is God reaching out to you. This is God trying to communicate to you. This is God telling you to get to know him. But then I run into the same issue of, okay, if I believe that to be true, what does that mean for all my other beliefs, right? What does this mean for me as a witch, as a love witch, as an Aphrodite devotee, as an astrologer, as a tarot reader? Because again, I have had multiple people tell me, you cannot pursue the path of Christ if you're doing witchcraft. Tarot is something that means the world to me. Astrology means the world to me. Love magic, sex magic, these are all the things that make me me and that I am so aligned with. So what does it mean that I am feeling this pull towards Christianity, I guess you can say, right? Like I don't even fully know how to describe it. I was very confused. Very, very confused. What do I do from here? What do I do when I get back home? I tell myself, I'm going to take things slow. I don't know what's going to change. I don't really know what's happening or what anything means right now. And I'm just going to start praying. I do exactly that. I start praying mainly in the mornings. I pray before I eat. And I noticed like something felt lighter in me, especially when I prayed before I ate. Like I mentioned, on my trip, I was ill, terribly fucking ill. I had a tofu sandwich, and that is what gave me food poisoning, right? I had stomach problems the whole trip. Once I got home, every time I ate, I started praying before I ate. Yes, it is a combination of like me being home, eating home cooked meals that definitely made me feel better, but I fully believe also praying over my food definitely helped me. Like it just added this whole other layer to me feeling safe, to me feeling healthy, to me feeling just a million times better than I had felt back when I was in California and when I was sick. It felt like I was detoxing in a way. My first weekend back, I decided to go to church. I will say, I love church because, I am very goth. And the architecture of churches, right? Like I just think churches are so beautiful, and I love the imagery. I love the stained glass. I love seeing all the crosses and the flowers, and churches in general I just find a lot of comfort in because they're so beautiful, and obviously they are very peaceful. But I'm listening to what the priest is saying, and I don't really feel a connection, right? Like I feel comforted by the physicality of the church, but everything happening while I'm there during the service, nothing is really moving me. I process that, I think about that, and I still continue to pray, right? Like I said, every morning I'm still praying over my food as well, praying for myself, praying for my loved ones. And I start watching videos and podcasts about other people's religious journeys. And then I also follow a lot of witchy influencers, witchy YouTubers. And Ruby Wolf, who I have seen on my page before, I've watched her videos before, but it had been a very long time since I watched anything of hers. But a video of hers pops up, and it's a video about Mary Magdalene. I think there was some point in my journey where I went through something similar, battling between Christianity, paganism, what the do I do, you know what I mean? That I think there was something that was happening and Mary Magdalene came up, but I never fully explored it or fully explored her, learning about her, anything like that. I knew the name. I knew how people, Catholics especially, have portrayed her to be a prostitute despite there being no evidence that she was ever a sex worker. So Ruby Wolf's video pops up, and I'm gonna link it in the description box below as well. I start watching her video on Mary Magdalene. Things start fucking clicking. It leads me down a fucking rabbit hole. Now everything that I'm watching is about Gnosticism, Christ consciousness, and about Mary Magdalene. I think I know what I'm meant to do. So all those anxieties that I had been experiencing, all the doubt that I had been feeling while I was in Cali and when I came back from Cali, it was kind of like being tasked with a puzzle and not even knowing where to begin. I went from being in a state of confusion to being this is making sense. I know now what I'm meant to learn. That is what I have been doing lately. I have been researching a lot about Mary Magdalene, watching a lot of videos. I ordered a few books as well, which I will show you guys. I got When God Was a Woman by Merlin Stone, the landmark exploration of the ancient worship of the great goddess and the eventual suppression of women's rights. This is what that looks like. I haven't started it yet. The second book I got is Goddesses in Every Woman, Powerful Archetypes in Women's Lives. This is this one. I did get the Gospel of Mary Magdalene as well, which I believe is still in the package. I need to open it up. There are other things that, like I said, in the meantime that I've been learning about Mary Magdalene through YouTube videos, through podcasts and things like that, where I am starting to see, and I've seen other people, other witches talk about this as well when working with certain deities. Once you start working with them, you look back at other times in your life where you can see in hindsight they were making themselves known to you. And I can absolutely already tell, although I haven't started working with Mary Magdalene necessarily, I can already tell, just based on what I'm learning, she has always been here. And this is definitely a path that I've been meaning to pursue. I feel there has absolutely been a resurgence of the craft, especially on TikTok, with witch talk being a thing and that becoming super popular, especially during COVID. But one thing that I don't think enough people talk about when it comes to witchcraft is that a majority of your witch journey isn't necessarily in doing magic and doing spell work and doing rituals or divination or anything like that. A lot of it is learning. A lot of it is researching. It is reading. It is buying books. It is, again, listening to podcasts or videos or things like that. A lot of it is research. A lot of it takes a lot of time. And I was apprehensive to make this video and talk about the ways in which I am learning and growing spiritually, because it almost feels like nothing has really happened. You know what I mean? It almost feels like nothing has really changed. But I know that's not true. I know the truth is a lot has changed and a lot is changing, and I am just at the very beginning stages of all of it. And I think that's beautiful, and I do think that's why I wanted to sit down and talk about this, because like I said, whenever people talk about, even if it's baby witches and they talk about starting their witch journey, sometimes people are so preoccupied on, well, what can I start doing? What do I need to do? What are some baby spells that I can do, or beginner friendly rituals that I can do as a baby witch? And it's you don't need to do all that. That is not solely what it means to be a witch. That was my hip that just cracked. I don't know if you guys heard that. People, I think, are so hyper focused on constantly doing something, constantly being in this state of doing, you can take a step back, right? Like, we can take a step back, we can take things slow, truly just savor the journey, right? Savor the experience. Like I said, I did kind of wrestle with myself a little bit and go back and forth and think, you know, should I even talk about this? Like, is there anything to really talk about? But like I said, I do think this was worth making a video about, even if other people are like, so what does this mean? Like, what are we gonna do? You know, how has your trip actually changed you? My trip has changed me because it inspired me to learn more, to research more, right? To expand my knowledge and my understanding of Christ-like consciousness. What does that even really mean? What does Gnosticism mean? What does that look like? How will that look like for me and my own spiritual path, right? I'm not going to stop working with Hecate. I'm not going to stop being an Aphrodite devotee. I think more than anything, I really align with those goddesses. It's so funny because I remember one of the first times I got my cards read was at this shop called Namaste in New York. If you're a native New Yorker, if you're a native witch New Yorker, you know. They're a little pricey, they're a little expensive. They literally sell Florida water for $15. They do have good readers there, and I got my cards read by this woman. Oh, I wish I remembered her name. She doesn't do readings there anymore, but she told me, you're going to go back to Christianity, but not in a traditional way. I forgot what she called it, but she was like essentially saying, you're going to go back to Christianity, but it won't be in the traditional way. And I remember when she told me that, being like, what the hell are you talking about? Because mind you, I was 19 or 20 at the time. I'm 25 now, going on 26. And I was just like, what is she talking about? Like, I will always be pagan. I will always be a witch. And I realize now she wasn't saying that I was going to eventually not identify as a pagan anymore or even as a witch. She was just saying, you know, that would be something that I was going to return to. I didn't see it then, but that just goes to show how amazing she was, right? As a reader, as a psychic, because here we are now. I was 19, so 6 years, almost 7 years later. It's weird. It's very weird how things work out, how things play out in ways that you just wouldn't expect. I am just feeling incredibly grateful for my trip out to California because, like I said, I do think it has definitely changed where I'm headed. I think it's helping me, or it's going to help me confront this religious trauma that I have and heal from this Catholic guilt that I carry in ways that I didn't know I could. You know what I mean? Because like I said, it's something that I was still struggling with even recently, even up until last year. It was something that, you know, affected me on a very deep level. And I had no idea how to fully heal from that. So I am very excited about all of it. And I just wanted to share it with you guys. This is essentially my first video on this channel, so I do feel like it's a good way to get to know me as well, especially because I feel like a lot of my content is going to revolve around witchcraft. It's going to revolve around love magic, glamour magic, and things like that. If you're interested in learning more about that or just seeing what that looks like for me, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. I hope you angels have an amazing day. Blessed be, and I will see you guys in the next video.